Hello lovely followers and welcome to my January wrap-up. I know it is kind of late. It is technically February 3rd night time right now. Don't know when I'll be able to edit this and upload it, but better late than never. So I read 9 books in the month of January. I was really hoping I'd be able to read 10, but I really struggled with this month reading-wise. Not in terms of how many amazing books I read, but in terms of how fast I read and how many books I read. But still, it was a pretty good month with 9 books. A lot of these books were books I've been wanting to read for ages, so I'm very happy with that. And a lot of them are also review books, which I'm not happy with, but still, a lot of those are awesome books. However, next month in February, which I'll be filming right after this video, a lot of these books are non-review books, just to balance out how much I read in January. So anyways, let's get started. I'll begin with the review books. The first one that I read in no particular order is Love, Lucy by April Lindner. I requested this on a whim before I did my whole resolution thing, and it's set in Italy. I haven't had the best of luck with books set in Italy, so I wanted to give this one a try, and I really loved it. I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. I thought the way the author explored Italy through Lucy's eyes was very interesting, and it was I really liked it. It was like as if I was actually there, and it really made me want to go there or travel at least. I just really loved this book, and I definitely recommend it to a lot of people. I know not many people loved it. It's such a good book. I definitely recommend it. Then I read Heartbreak Cafe, No Experience Required. This is book number 1 of the Heartbreak Cafe series by Janet Quinn Hartman. This story talks about a girl whose parents get divorced, and she's like a rich girl, but then she finds herself in need of a job, and she starts working at this cafe, but everyone thinks that she can't do it because she's a rich kid who has never held a job ever. And I think she's 17 in this book. I did enjoy it for the most part. I just felt there was an overuse of the exclamation point, because every single thing the main protagonist, Deborah, said, or Deb, or whatever, had an exclamation point at the end of it, so everything was very exciting, and it just kind of got annoying at some point. And I don't know, I thought it was a pretty fun, quick read. I mean, I think it's less than 200 pages, and definitely middle grade-ish. The next book that I picked up is technically not a review. It was an unsolicited copy, but I really wanted to pick up the book, and it is All the Bright Things by Jennifer Naveen. This was the book club pick for the Ontario girls. Some of them are Giselle, Marina, Patty, Brittany, Melissa, and I. So we picked this one, and I read this in a single day. I actually buddy read this with my real-life friend, or they're all real-life friends now, with my real-life friend Bana back in Dubai. We read it in a single day, and we cried so much. We cried unbelievably much, and this is a total 5 out of 5 star read for me. Don't listen to the Fault in Our Stars meets Eleanor and Park. No, this is a book all on its own. It deals with such an important topic that is very dear to my heart in terms of how people think about it and how much awareness, how much of a lack of awareness there is about it. So I definitely recommend this book to a lot of people. Then I picked up Sarafina by Rachel Hartman. I have always wanted to read this book ever since it came out back in 2012, and I finally did, and I actually ended up meeting the author. But I really did enjoy this book. It is a very long book though. I feel like this book was more of a setup to the next book, Shadow Scale. It took a while for me to get into and to complete. It's 400 something pages, but it took a while. I did end up giving it 4 stars, but I thought that it lacked a lot of action, which I'm hoping I will see in the sequel, and this is my first ever dragon book. The next book that I read, I actually read in ARC format, but then I bought the finished copy, and it's Willow by Kathleen Peacock. I truly loved this book. This is the 3rd and last book in the Hemlock trilogy. There's Hemlock and there's Thornhill and there's Willow. If you know me, you know how much I love this trilogy and how I'm pushing so many people to pick it up and read it, because it's amazing. It's about werewolves, but done in such a unique and different way. There's murder, there is mystery, and there's suspense, and then there's a great friendship and just great romance, and there's everything in this series and trilogy. Then I picked up another review book, and it is The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins, and I think this book was amazing. I gave it 4.5 stars because the beginning was a bit slow, but I loved the gritty feel of this book. I just loved how I hated every single character, including the main protagonist in this book. I was so disgusted by the main protagonist, and I was just so uncomfortable reading this book, and I loved it. I don't think you should even read what it's about, to be honest. Just go in and start reading it, and then just let it take you where it takes you. And it was such a thrilling book. I, again, loved it. I can't wait to read more. If you like Gone Girl, I personally think this is much more superior to Gone Girl. And I really want more people to read it, and I want to read more adult thrillers. So if you guys have any suggestions, definitely let me know down below. Then I picked up Golden Sun by Pearson, and this is the third book that made me cry this month. It was amazing. It was so much more than I thought it would be. I was very hesitant to pick this one up because I did like Red Rising, but it took me such a while to get through it. So I did end up reading it, and I feel like if you guys were hesitant like I was, then don't be. Just pick this one up because it dives right into the action, unlike Red Rising, which took so long to build up the world and the setting and all that stuff. This one dived right into the action, and it did not let up until the end of the book. I definitely suggest you guys pick this up, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. The next book is The Kiss of Deception by Mary E. Pearson, and this is the 4th book that made me cry. And unfortunately, I was not a big fan of this book. I buddy read this with a couple of people, but then towards the end I marathoned it with Bana again. Last weekend, or the last weekend of January actually, her and I read 2 books in 2 days, where we just sat down over WhatsApp and we read for like 5 to 7 hours straight each day for 2 days. So this was one of them, and I totally guessed who was the prince, who was the assassin. I didn't even think there was a twist to that. It was okay. Bana also guessed it right. And ever since you find out who was who, which is halfway through the book kind of takes a nosedive to the worst. And we just read it for the sake of finishing the book. So I ended up giving it 3 stars. More like 2.5 to 3 to be honest, but yeah, I don't think I'll be picking up the sequel to this series. The last book that made me cry, and the last book in this whole wrap-up, is Me Before You by Jojo Moyes. This book made me ugly cry, kind of like All the Bright Places, and such a hurtful book. And it puts you in a situation where there's no other way you can think or judge or feel than what you are feeling now. It's a really hard book, and it also deals with an important topic, and I really loved it. It broke my heart, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. So now I want to mention the books where I ugly cried the most till the least. Number 5 is Golden Sun by Pearson. So I shed a few tears in there, but nothing too ugly. Number 4 is The Kiss of Deception. I shed a few more tears, and I had to pause a little bit to, you know, deal with the shock. Number 3 is Willow, and I actually had to pause for a while, tweet the author, telling her that I'm ugly crying at the moment, and then cry through 10 more pages of this book. Number 2 is Me Before You, and that book I ugly cried a lot through different parts of this book, and couldn't believe it. I could believe it, but it's just so much crying happening for this book. Lots of ugly crying where your nose clogs up, that kind of crying. And number 1 goes to All the Bright Places, where I ugly cried so much that I had to calm down so I can breathe properly. And then Ban and I were WhatsApping to each other, telling each other we're crying so hard. Had to go to my sister, take a 20-minute break from reading this book, trying to calm down. My eyes were so puffy, it was crazy. But yeah, I love this book. So these are all the books that I read in the month of January, and the 5 books that I cried while reading. So this was the month of crying. Let me know which books you guys are excited about that you haven't read, or which ones that actually made you cry, and if you actually cried reading a book this month. That is it. I hope you guys have a fantastic day, and see you next time. Bye!